So number 9 ranked UFC featherweight Ilia Topuria ended up getting into a fight recently within the last day or two. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the footage, and we're also going to talk about it a little bit. So just to preface this, I really have no idea about the backstory. I have no idea if either one of them started it. I don't know if they're both to blame. I don't know if there is anyone to blame in the first place. All I have is the footage. That's it. I don't know any backstory. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look at this with what we have, which is just the footage. Also, before we get to it, I want to say that I don't condone assault or any kind of criminal activity or anything like that, but we are going to be talking about this in a very candid way. And I just want people to understand that I'm not telling anyone to go fight people just for the sake of it or anything like that. Self-defense is one thing. A bar fight is typically, usually, most of the time, something completely different. But with that said, let's go ahead and take a look right now. Okay, so we have a scene at the bar. There's Ilia Topuria in white, and there's a guy who is dressed in black who ends up coming up and pushing Ilia. Now, this is a bad move on a couple of different parts, because for one thing, if somebody's annoying you, if there's somebody in a room that you really don't like, or maybe they did something that really hurt you or something like that, you should try and get away from them. I'm not a big proponent of just beating somebody up just because you don't like them or because they ended up doing something to you that was wrong or bad or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, why would you want to spend time around somebody that you don't like? Even if it is to try and do some kind of harm to them, you're just bringing yourself down. You're lowering yourself to their level. And I understand that sometimes it can kind of feel good. Just the prospect of it, the thought of it can feel very good, but it's not something that you want to get wrapped up in, especially because at the end of the day, you don't know. You could get in serious trouble. Some bar fight, the cops, they may not really care about the fact that he did this or said that or anything like that. They might just decide, oh, you know what, this is dumb. Both of you are going to end up getting a summons, or both of you are getting taken away in cuffs, and that's not something you want to risk. Additionally, this is very bad from a strategy standpoint, because you don't just want to put hands on somebody unless you're going to make it mean something. And again, I don't condone assault and battery or any other kind of criminal behavior, but if you're going to put hands on somebody, you might as well make it equal out to something. There might as well be some kind of return of investment. So if you're just going to go over and push somebody and they're going to stagger back 2 feet and then they're going to be able to get right back in your face, that's kind of a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and it also puts you in danger because they now know of your aggressive intentions. So you're going to end up basically being on equal footing from them. If you're going to push anybody, it's going to be because you want to get them away from you so that you can run away or pounce on them. You don't want to just push somebody to push them. You'd literally be better off just going over and punching the dude or smacking him, which I'm not saying you should. I don't condone that. I'm just saying that it's probably better to take your chances punching a dude than it is pushing a dude. You might be a little bit better off because it's going to be safer for you. There's going to be less of a chance of him being able to do anything back to you. All right, so he pushes him again. Now, I'm not exactly sure. It's a little bit choppy, but it looks like there was some kind of left hand. I don't know if it was a hook or if the guy just got hit with a stiff jab, and because he may not have ever been really punched like that before, he fell over. I also don't know if he lost consciousness. The way he falls, there is a potential that he lost consciousness, but he also could have just been so blindsided by the fact that he ended up getting hit, especially in such an efficient way, that he just ended up falling over. And Ilia ends up pouncing on the guy immediately. And it happens that fast. It really does happen that fast. A lot of people, they think of bar fights, they think of fights in the most general sense, and they think it's going to be some weird epic battle between two gladiators who they both want it. They both really want it that bad, and they both are showing heart, and they both are going to take some lumps, but they're also going to give some lumps, and it's going to be really cool, and it's not. Typically, one guy gets hit, he falls over, and if you're lucky, the guy who ended up hitting you is going to end up stopping, or the guy who ended up delivering the blow is going to end up stopping. But there's a chance that that's not going to happen, as Ilia Topuria ended up showing. He ended up knocking the guy over, and then he immediately pounced on him and kept raining down punches. And if that guy's lucky, chances are he was probably all right. But if he's lucky, there's no real damage that was done to him. There's nothing broken. There's no long-lasting or life-changing brain injuries that occurred or anything like that. He's just gonna get up. He might have a black eye, but he's fine for the most part. If he's lucky, that's how it's going to be, but there's no guarantees with something like this. Sometimes you don't even figure out for years. Now, I think a big lesson was learned today on the part of the guy with the black coat. And do we know if that dude knew that the guy in the white shirt was Ilia Topuria? No, we don't. There's a chance that he had no clue and that he thought he was just going to get one over on some guy at the bar or something like that. We don't know, and that is a possibility. But it really doesn't make it any different to me if he didn't know that it was such a high-ranked UFC fighter. At the end of the day, you shouldn't be starting with anybody because you never really know who you're trying to start shit with. In addition to that, one thing that needs to be understood by everybody is that there's really no code of martial arts that keeps people from fighting other people. There is no getting kicked out of your gym if you fight outside of your gym or anything like that. Martial artists fight people. That's what we train to do. And yes, there are secondary benefits regarding, say, personal philosophy or an outlook on life or a willingness to kind of be a little bit more permissive of certain behaviors than other people. Basically, to just keep the peace, to not start fighting people over nothing. However, just because people tend to find that sort of thing, it doesn't mean that we're just going to get walked on. And that's something that I think a lot of people get confused about. Now, I want to be very careful about how I tell this story because years have passed and me and the people who were involved are not only cool now, but we also have basically all agreed that we were very immature and we probably should have not been this way. But I ended up getting into a very bad and prolonged argument with some people, 2 girls and 1 man, about something that was really just so dumb to argue about. It was so stupid. And when I look back, I just think to myself about how dumb that was and how dumb I was. But the argument got so bad, I ended up saying that I wanted to fight the guy. I lost my cool completely and totally. And I said, you know what? You and I are going to fight. Meet me here. You and I, we're going to knock the knuckles. We're going to throw hands, bang the ones. One of the girls who was involved ended up coming to me and was like, you can't fight him. You'll get kicked out of your gym. She kind of said it in a bit of a matter-of-fact way, as if she got me. I'm not going to lie. And it was kind of funny to me because she really thought that if I got into a fight with this guy that I was going to go back to my gym, and regardless of whether I won or lost, regardless of whether my coach knew because I walked in with a black eye or anything like that, but because I had fought this guy, when I went back to my gym, my coach was going to call me into the office and be like, Scott, I know you've been fighting outside the gym. You know the rules. That's never allowed under any circumstances at any gym ever. You think you can take these fighting techniques and use them to fight people? Well, I have no idea where you got that from. Get out of here. You're not allowed here anymore. They really thought that that's what was going to happen. And no, that's not the case. The fact of the matter is there's an understanding among martial artists that we are martial artists. What we do is train to fight. We train to hurt people. I guess you could say not even on a technical level, on a literal level, we train to be able to murder people with our bare hands. That's how we are. Some people do it with weapons. You know, you got the Eskrima guys, the Filipino martial arts nerds, the HEMA nerds, people like that, right? We train to do damage to people. That's how it is. And even though nobody will say, oh, dude, just go out there and beat the shit out of everybody who crosses you, everybody who gets you a little bit annoyed, everybody who cuts you off in traffic, nobody's going to tell you to do that. People are never going to tell you to not use what you know. And typically people are going to be very understanding of a situation at a bar where some guy came over to you and started putting hands on you. Or they're really just not going to care. They're not going to want to know about some situation where you got into an argument over weed, which was what it was about. I'm going to be honest with you. They're not going to care. They're not going to want to know. They're not going to want to get involved because at the end of the day, they're just a dude who's trying to live their life just like I am. So they're not only not going to judge me about it, but they're also not going to penalize me in any way. Now, if I had sat there and I was screaming the name of my gym while I was assaulting some granny in public who did absolutely nothing to me, then yeah, I'd probably get kicked out of my gym. Probably, potentially, maybe, but I'm not going to get kicked out of my gym because I get into a fight, because I get into a scrap out in the world. That's That's not how it works. The thing you really have to keep in mind is the fact that you really never know who you're dealing with. And if you are fortunate enough to know who you're dealing with, you should probably not try to punk them in that way. You should probably just try to avoid conflict with them at all costs, because chances are they're also going to try to do the same thing with you. They're just going to expect you to treat them fair, and they're going to treat you fair in return. And if you start treating them in an unfair manner, don't be surprised when they're a lot better at treating you in an unfair manner than you are at treating them in one. But thank you for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and a sub, and also comment your thoughts down below. If you have any questions for me, feel free to hit me up on Instagram at ScottSullivanMMA. And until next time, thank you very much, and good luck out there.